Hello again. We're going to continue our tour of Adobe Flash Catalyst. And in this video, we're going to explore more about the wireframe drawing tools and how I can use basic drawing shapes to create basic components using Flash Catalyst. So we're going to pick up exactly from where we were last time. So if you open up that same project, I'm actually on the watch state of our project here. So in this particular state, I'm going to create some custom buttons that are going to represent different aspects of video player controls. Now, when I actually am creating these buttons, there might be a few specific design things or design considerations that I want to capture when I create these. So let's take a look at the wireframe drawing tools just to familiarize ourselves with what's available inside of Flash Catalyst. So I have the selection tool. I also have the direct select tool. So if I've created, say, a group and I want to just kind of not select the group but actually select a particular item inside of that, I can use the direct select tool for that. Next, you'll see I've got the transform, which will allow me to rotate objects. I also have the text tool, which we've covered in a previous video. And then I have the rectangle and ellipse, which if I click and hold, you'll see flies out to cover it rectangle, rounded rectangle, or ellipse, which could also be a circle. The next one is the shape tool. The shape will allow me to draw triangles, hexagons, octagons, or stars. I then have the basic line tool, the hand tool, and then also the zoom tool. What we're going to do is create a basic button. And we're actually going to create the button from scratch as opposed to dragging out a button from the wireframe components panel. I want my button to actually be a circle, though, in this case. So I'm going to use the ellipse tool. I'm just going to draw out a basic circle. To constrain to a circle, hold down the Shift key. If you let go of the Shift key, which I'm doing right now, you'll see that it also allows me to create a basic ellipse. All right, so I let go of the mouse, and now I have the ability to resize my object. You'll notice that the Properties panel gives me access to the X and Y coordinates or the width and height. I can modify my X by clicking and dragging, and then when I let go, you'll see that the object plops into the right spot, and I can do that by clicking and dragging on the Y as well. The other option is I can click directly into this and then put in my own particular coordinates. So I can do, let's say, 100, and then I can set this to 150. You'll notice that when you're in one, you can actually press the Tab button to jump into the next field. So let's modify a little bit of the design of this button. So I don't necessarily know what the final design is going to be, but I really don't like this blue. So let's actually just modify that real fast. Let's just create this as a basic gray button for right now. And my stroke I am going to create as black. You'll see that there are a couple other options that I have available to me. One is the opacity, which is the alpha level, or how invisible the object is going to be. 100% means that it's completely opaque, meaning that I can't see anything behind it. If I reduce that down to 0, it will be completely transparent or invisible. Rotation for a circle doesn't mean much, but rotation for any other object will allow me to rotate it around its center point. You'll notice that there are a few other options down here. You see that I also have the option of choosing different blend modes, which are quite extensive. And then I also can add in common filters like blurs, drop shadows, bevels, glows, or inner glows. Now, these are no match compared to Photoshop or Illustrator, and they're not meant to. Those tools, as you'll see when we go into another video, will actually use all of their very powerful design tools to take our basic concepts here and actually make them look really cool. So we've created this basic circle. So I actually want to put some text inside of this that's going to represent what the actual play control is going to be. So I'm going to use my text tool, and I'm going to just click here and then type in play. So with that, I'm going to make that black, and let's make that a little bit bigger. I can make that, let's say, 16, and I'm going to make it bold. The other thing I'm going to do, I'm going to make this so that it's fit height. This, if you remember, fit height allows me to define the width of this particular control, but not necessarily its height. So I'm going to change its width to, let's change it to 60. Now, I always want this particular button label to be centered. So let's change its alignment to center. I'm going to click and drag this on top of the circle. Okay, so now I've got my, my basic control. I can use the arrow keys on my keyboard with the object selected to kind of just have it center visually. I can also select both of these. I also can use the align tools to horizontally center or vertical center. Okay, so now I have the basic graphics, but they're just graphics. They actually don't represent any real component or have any logic associated with them. So what we need to do now is actually create these into a button. So I'm going to select both of the objects. When you select objects inside of Flash Catalyst, this area of the application, known as the heads-up display, will spring to life. The heads-up display will only give us actions or commands that are contextually based on whatever we have selected on the stage. So in this case, I've got two items, and you can see that at the top. It gives me two basic options here. I can convert artwork to a component, or I can optimize the artwork. In this case, we actually want to create a component, which is a button. So with this drop-down menu, I can select any one of the components that are supported inside of Flash Catalyst. So let's go ahead and select Button. When you do that, it's going to take the graphics that we've created and wrap them inside of a button component. It's going to take the graphic, in this case the circle, as well as the text field, and inject those inside of the button. The heads-up display is now updated because it's now not selecting two specific graphics, but now it's selecting an actual button component. If you look at the Properties panel, you'll see that it is also updated as well. It has a new section here called Component, which gives us all kinds of new interactive capabilities based on the fact that we're now working with a button. So with this now converted into a button, we need to now dive in and change a couple other aspects of this button. So let's go ahead and click on the Over button in the heads-up display. You'll notice that when we've converted artwork into a button, it's automatically created all the major states of our particular button. For a button, that would include the up state, the over state, the down state, and the disabled state. The heads-up display gives us a really quick way to get into a particular state inside of a button. In this case, we clicked on Over. Now in Over, I might want to say have my gray circle, let's say have it turn black. Okay? So I'm going to have that turn black, and then I can select my text and have the text turn white. Now you notice that when I've done this, and I select one of these objects, I have this option here at the bottom of my heads-up display. It says this object has different properties in other states. There's this command here called make same in all other states. If I've modified a graphic and I want that change to be reflected over every single one of the states of my component or of all the pages of my application, I can quickly resync everything inside of the component using that particular button. What I can also do is I can add in additional objects. So let's actually go in and to the text tool, and I'm just going to do this as an example. Let's create a new text option here called a text field. Now with this option, you'll see that the text field that I've created is just in the overstate. If I go into my Layers panel, you'll see that in the overstate I have this new text field here. In my downstate, you'll see that it is now not visible, and it's grayed out. That's because it's now the visibility has been turned off on that particular layer. Now if I want, I can right-click this and then also say Share to State. Share to State will take this object and display it in particular states. I can have it share to the up state, the down state, the disabled state, or I can do all the states at the same time if I want to.